Hello, gals and guys. Mr. Ambrose here. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Um, Over the next several weeks, I'm going to be going over with you guys the last unit on the CodeHS site, which deals with the internet. And as was done throughout the year, as I go over each of these sections, I'll post the Google Slides. I'll ask you guys to, complete the quiz, the respective quizzes and assignments in each section. And as you've been doing all year long, you'll be great. This will be, part of your grade for the fourth quarter. So, with that being said, today we're just going to look at an introduction to the internet and what it is. So, in this unit, right, we're going to go over, in a little bit of detail exactly what is the internet. You'll see how it kind of works, and you'll also see what sort of impact it has had on society. Now, the internet itself, ultimately, it was originally developed to help, aid in the communication of information amongst people in different areas, around the world. And as a result of that, the internet itself can be thought of as a network of networks. And over the years as the internet has developed, in order for the internet to be successful, there are certain protocols um, that have to be followed in order for it to actually function in the way that it does. And so those protocols are just agreed upon rules that, again, allow for the internet to actually function the way it is so that information can be sent over that network of networks and, things can, the internet can operate the way that it does. So the internet, right, it's a way that machines in particular can communicate with each other. Basically, that's ultimately what's happening. You have just various sorts of machines, whether they're computers, laptops, phones, tablets, whatever they may be, that are ultimately communicating with each other over the internet. And obviously, in doing so, that allows for humans to communicate with each other ultimately. Um, Now, over time, the internet has slowly grown to what it is today. In 2005, when most of you were, pretty much all of you were very, 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 very young, only 16% of the world was online, and you'll notice here that more the developed world had access to it than developing worlds. Look almost to 10 years later, and while things have increased, still the majority of the world is still not online. And while, it's now 6 years later, and these numbers perhaps are still, I'm sure are higher, there still are definitely parts of the world that are not connected to the internet. Even in the United States, there are people in places where people just don't have access to the internet. So while it is definitely a popular thing, not everyone in the world actually has access to the internet. So again, it's definitely a popular thing, the internet. So there's a lot of things happening, whether they're tweets, Skype calls, Google searches, emails being sent. The amount of information that is, you know, traversing over the internet is just utterly incredible to think about exactly how much information is being transferred over the internet. And if you want to actually take a look, this website, you could, this slide presentation, I'll post on Google Classroom. This particular site here, you can take a look at it. It's, incredible exactly how much information is being sent over the internet on a regular basis, on a day-to-day basis. Like with your computer innovation, there definitely are impacts that the internet has had over time, both good and bad, both beneficial and harmful, unfortunately. And these are some of the things that I'm going to go over with you guys in the remainder of this particular slide presentation. So one of the benefits of the internet has been communication. Email obviously is one way that people can communicate with each other. Video calls, FaceTime or whatever. Even I guess in terms of other ways of communicating, like Zoom or Google Meet, are ways that I know schools right now are trying to provide um, live sessions with their students, and also I know businesses in particular will use those platforms to hold meetings amongst people throughout the world so that they conduct their business on a regular basis. And then social media, obviously, you guys, I'm sure, use it, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, um, YouTube. There are various ways that you guys use to try to communicate over the internet on a day-to-day basis. There's also things that, again, that are really for the benefit of people in a more dire need. And so this particular website here is an example of a particular individual that had, unfortunately, a case of leukemia. And the only way to treat this individual's leukemia was they needed a stem cell transplant. And unfortunately, that's a rather difficult thing to find and identify. So this particular website helped find individuals throughout the world. Um, they could go to this particular website, they could put in their information, and it ultimately allowed for this individual to find a match to actually receive the stem cell um, transplant that they needed in order to treat their leukemia. So, and there are many other cases of this happening, where people, unfortunately, with unfortunate diseases, finding matches to be able to receive such, transplants. And then here's an example, Foldit. It's an actual online game uh, where they may be playing a game, but in the process of playing this particular game, people were actually able to find, in this case, an accurate model of an AIDS causing virus in 10 days. And while in this particular scenario, this individual case had been unsolved for 15 years through, lots of different people over the internet being able to play this game, they were able to come up with a model of this particular, AIDS virus in a matter of a really short time. And so this idea of various people being able to access and contribute to certain issues like this here is a tremendous benefit. Um, and so another way that this particular idea of various resources being used to help uh, solve certain issues, um, computers themselves have computing power, and so being able to access various computers, I guess, throughout the internet allows or provides a much higher processing power, and so um, being able to access all this processing power has been able to provide certain breakthroughs and understanding in various diseases, as you see here: Alzheimer's, Huntington's disease, cancer, and HIV. So that has been another benefit of the internet. I'm sure at some point you guys have, or your parents or your family have done online shopping. I know I've done it myself, and this definitely has been a benefit to some extent, allowing you to access things in a quick manner and perhaps get good prices because you can easily look around and try and search for things that you want, and also at a low cost. So that definitely has been a benefit. Another benefit is the idea of crowdfunding. So in order to perhaps be able to do something that you really want to do, these are two websites or two different platforms, Kickstarter and Indiegogo, where people can go on there, and if they want to perhaps start something, if they have an idea to do something, then they can go on there, and other individuals can perhaps, if they like the idea, donate money to allow certain individuals to go with and try to get that money and try and go forward with their idea with to start something, whether it's something to do with music or artwork, or just maybe perhaps some sort of other business idea. um, another great benefit of the internet is access to information. There are a lot of databases out there with scientific publications that before the internet perhaps people didn't have wide access to, and now with the internet, now people you know can see those publications, and thus increase their overall knowledge, and which is only a good thing. But at the same time, as perhaps a harmful effect or potential harmful effect, the site like WikiLeaks, where perhaps them posted information to try to you know make certain institutions such as the government transparent in what they're doing. Sometimes post information, while there may be the idea of trying to do something good, it could also be harmful when you're perhaps posting information that could really be detrimental to people, such as um, you know posting information about stuff like about the army, or whatever. It definitely could be detrimental to certain individuals. Um, Here's another thing that's happening right now, more so than ever before: online learning. Obviously, you guys were learning over the Code HS site throughout the year, but now in all your classes, you're doing online learning, and that's definitely, whether you might think so or not, is, I think, in the long term, somewhat perhaps a benefit. Um, and then GPS, I guess, technically doesn't require the internet, but it definitely helps. Um, and then entertainment wise, obviously, the internet definitely has been beneficial. YouTube allows various individuals to make their own videos and for people to perhaps watch them. And then I'm sure there are individuals who enjoy the online gaming. Um, that definitely has been a huge benefit. Um, but again, there are definitely, besides for benefits, harmful effects to the internet. And so one of them is access to copyrighted material, in particular peer-to-peer networks, which allows people to share content readily, easily, while, again, trying to communicate with people is a beneficial thing. When people are perhaps sharing information that is copyrighted, well, that's technically illegal and is something that should not be done. So people have to be careful with what they perhaps are sharing. Anonymity can be a good thing at times, because when people don't know exactly who an individual may be, they perhaps won't have any sorts of um, discriminated against, and so that's a good thing. So there could be equality on the internet. But at the same time, when people perhaps know that other people won't know exactly who they are, then they may be more apt to bully people. So that obviously is a potential harmful effect. And then another potential harmful effect is censorship, meaning exactly what gets filtered, whether it's the government and how different governments throughout the world filter what people can access in the internet within their countries, or even Google, exactly how they perhaps in their searches exactly filter exactly what gets displayed. Well, again, exactly that could in a way be harmful at times. So the internet definitely has its benefits and harmful effects, but the ability to send perhaps a smiley face from one computer over the internet to another one definitely, has its good parts and also potentially its bad parts. So that's a brief introduction to the internet. For Tuesday's assignment, I'll ask you to do the quiz that is in section 8.01 and the exercise as well. As always, take care, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.